Now people ask, well, Dale, when can I start the reward? When does that come online? That does come online. You're going to see it in the service dog training, but again, once relational changes happen at a pretty good level, then by me saying, good girl, using a treat, whatever, that's not a problem. See, people, they miss the point here about breaking the process down properly. Because if you do that from the beginning, right, really what you're doing is you're going to have problems because you don't have the relationship fixed yet. Okay, the dog's holding control, and you're applying this narrative, this reward-based roadmap that way, and the dog is going to blow just like a 4x4 monster truck. They're going to blow right through that roadmap because they're saying, you know what, good luck with that because I have control. They think they do, but and it'll come out. You'll see. This is why to service dogs or whatever, complete disaster sometimes, and they can't get these dogs to be reliable because there's problems because what happens, the dog actually becomes possessive, right? The dog is possessive of the person, so you'll have an attachment with the dog will stay with that person, but good luck getting the dog out wherever trying to pick up an object or whatever, that ain't going to happen. Same thing, it's the same, but it's the same superficial type of here. So here it's about getting the relationship right first, right? Make sure relational change happens. That's what creates focus. People wonder, well, what creates the focus? Well, that creates the value, right, into what I want. Then I tie it in after I create relationship change. Then I tie it in picking up objects or whatever. So that becomes the really easy part because I got the relationship fixed. I got the hard part done first, then the easy stuff after. But if you do that too soon, again, you got the same problem going on as I used with the example with dealing with, say, a selfish child. You have to be very intentional. So here, again, just some highlights of the video. I don't want to go too far into this one, but just to cover off, big thing is why I do the things I do. Okay, so it's really, we'll talk more, this is about reconciling that. We'll talk more about that as we go through it, but it's about making sure that you're not going to be deceived by a certain picture. Okay, things aren't going to look a certain way and then not line up. This is the integrity of the method has to hold true to what it is. Okay, dogs are social relational animals. Nature itself, that's how it works. It's strength and weakness, but there's depth to it. This is why people were looking for, these issues of control and understanding them, how things can look a certain way and not be. Okay, that's a big problem when it comes to how things can look inside the home environment and everywhere else. Or get in the context about how these dogs can gain control even in a pack of dogs. Say if you have more than one dog, or some trainers are using these pack, great visuals, right? It's great for television or wherever. Dogs can hold control in that because of how those dynamics align, okay? Because there's depth against the relationship, right? So it's got to be direct from human to dog this way. The method's got to line up properly. The integrity of the method has to be there to make sure that relational changes are going to happen. Okay, so the method does what? It exposes the true nature of the relationship, forces cards on the table, and it changes the relationship also. So there's a duality in the method. Okay, but again, it's all about what's reasonable. So when you see influence being asserted, it can be really challenging for a lot of people because they're used to that. That's kind of the go-to in the dog training world. That's how it frames up. It can be a problem for balanced dog trainers being on a spectrum. Okay, I encourage you. I have a technical video on my YouTube channel called the Relational Spectrum. I encourage you if you want more information about balance training, pure positive, the spectrum, how that all kind of ties in with the risk levels going up that you're going to have a bad picture. I lay that all out. It's very, I show that, okay, how that, there's a lot of confusion, again, in the dog training world, but ultimately the source of the problem is that learning-based roadmap. I want to be very clear about that. You have to remove that from the equation. But it can be very challenging for people, right, because, there's this idea of how you assert influence and how it ties in, but you start to see, you will see it because I'm going to show a ton of videos on Coco in the process, helping you reconcile certain reactions with her. So the shakiness, the stress levels on the dog, they start to lift. And here's the thing, I was talking about positive. So the positive part of it is the fact you're taking the stress levels off the dog. Okay, you're fixing the relationship, you're helping the dog, and these control issues are going back, and that's what unwanted behavior issues diminish. Okay, so it's just like being a parent that cares, okay? You have to work through stuff. And that's what this is about. This is about her understanding. She knows I'm not being mean to her. She knows I'm doing this, but so it still makes sense. So even when she's challenging a little bit, she's not trying to bite me or anything like that because she's saying, well, this makes sense. Sure, I'm going to challenge Dale a little bit because I was in full control through my owner, and Dale's, he's going to have to prove it a little bit, right? That's how nature is, okay? He's going to have to prove it, but she lets it go. I mean, she already is through this process. Great change is already happening with her, and she's releasing that role really well. But again, just making sense of the method. That's the big thing here, is how this all ties in. See the inwardness here, the same thing. So we'll go through more methods here on some other videos. This is just to start into some basics, but a basic foundation as to why I do the things I do. That's really important. You see the devices I use, but again, everything intersects. The method is critical. I call these follower moments, so it changes the moment you're in, and it begins to affect the dog's overall decision-making process. And that's where the method can kind of start to diminish. Okay, so understand that this is just temporary. This is part of the process. Once relational change happens, then, oh yeah, then I'm going to have a dog out there sitting and all that, but then it's going to be solid. Meaningful influence has been established. Then commands, we'll talk about that for a second, but commands come online after a couple weeks, right? Once, the language of the method starts speaking, right, which I'm doing, she knows the intent. Her perceptions change from her to me, so then my verbal commands take on a different meaning. It's context. Then when I say sit, right, she's going to go right into a sit because meaningful influence is taken hold through the process, okay, through how this is tied together. But if I do it a different way, if I try to use commands from the start, sure she can sit or whatever, but still hold control. Okay, so understand, it's context here. And other issues we'll talk about too, as we go through, is why it is that I could use some of that learning roadmap and it work out okay for me, because it gets overridden through the strength of my personality and through other interactions I'm doing, okay? I'm combined with that. So if you ever wonder, well, how it is that this person can be successful and relational change happens with the dog and this person not, it's because it is all about the person. But the problem in the dog training world is that the majority of people are not going to be so fortunate, because typically you are how you think. All the dominoes fall a certain way. If you think a certain way, you're going to follow a certain ideological path and certain methods, and that's the problem. And so, and again, you can have a picture problem in certain parameters of, say, the training environment, and the trainer or whoever isn't even going to understand it because there's no depth. Okay, they're just looking at response a certain way, and you get your certificate, right? And it's not lining up. So just think common sense. I might go through these videos and I talk as simple as I can for people to help them understand, reconcile all this so that they can make sense of it. Because my hope is that people are going to be able to make incredible change with your dog. So again, if you're a trainer, if you're a dog owner, I encourage you to really, pay attention to what I'm saying. It's going to be extremely helpful. If you need help with your dog, I have lots of great training options on my website, www.caninepack.com. I even have a dog trainer course, an online course available if you're a trainer. Nothing wrong with starting out as a food trainer. I talk a lot about that stuff, but because it can become a great foundation, because you're going to have good insight. You're going to say, okay, well, I tried all that stuff. I know there's problems. I experienced those problems. This is going to help you. These series of videos are going to help you piece it together. Okay, it's going to fill in the gaps for you a lot. So I'm going to be talking about dog aggression. I'm going to be talking about fear aggression. I'm going to be talking about all sorts of issues here as we go through these videos, while you're seeing Coco go through her process to become an outstanding service dog for her owner. Okay, no doubt in my mind, she will be. Everything goes as expected. That's the other thing, when you're doing this system, it's very intentional. You already know the outcome. You already know how things are moving forward. And so this is why everything holds together for a certain level period of time. Because when I release the dog from the method, then you'll see it. Meaningful influence. It all lines up. It's about investing in it, trusting in it, knowing what it's going to do, and being very intentional. You're not going to be, the great thing with this system is relational change is going to happen. So you can control the outcome. Coco here, same thing. See, she tries to move around a little bit, but she's doing really well. I mean, if you look at the first video I put out on her, you'll see how she's responding to the method. Big difference. Big difference. Okay, so, which is great news. So she's doing really well. So anyway, thanks for watching. I encourage you to check out my next series of videos. I'm going to have lots of great information.